welcome back to our channel.
Hello.
So we're going to do a video on these 4 things, or the 4 parts of relationships that can cause divorce. So me and my husband took we did like a counseling with our church, and we learned about these 4 things that cause divorce, or these 4 things in a relationship that can cause divorce. So the Gottmans are world-renowned psychologists, and he can tell what couples are going to get a divorce based on these 4 things that he sees in the relationship. So let's get started. There's 4. So, and if you do these things, don't stress. I think everyone does some of these things in a relationship. The key is to stop doing them or to make changes in your relationship so that these things don't continue to snowball and become bigger and end your relationship. So the first one is...
Well, I just wanted to add to that. It's good to know. It's good to be aware of these things, because sometimes we're just doing these things and really not really thinking twice. So if you're at least aware of them, now you at least could say that, okay, well, now you know what you're doing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Because I think no couple is perfect. You probably do, criticize your partner. You do, but if you make the effort to change these qualities that you have, you can save your relationship. But if these things go unchecked and they continue, then he was saying that it does lead to divorce. Okay, so number 1 is criticism. So criticism is like, you never do this right, or you always do this. And I know in our relationship, we struggled with that, like, oh, you're lazy, or, saying you're this, or you don't be like, you're just a messy woman or something.
Just critiquing the other person, and it's not constructive criticism. It's just critiquing the other person to put them down, not to try to get the best out of them. So there's 2 different ways to critique someone, and a lot of us do the negative one.
Right. Like, you're dumb, or you're so stupid, or you're just so lazy, or you're so selfish. So I can say these things, but if you're married to someone and you want to stay married to them, what is the purpose of saying you're selfish and you're lazy without trying to, I guess, fix it? What is the goal in telling your partner they're lazy or selfish? Are you trying to help them get better? Are you trying to help them get over the selfishness? Yeah, it's the way you say things.
Yeah.
So criticizing someone repeatedly is not helpful, and it does start to destroy your relationship. I mean, you could say, instead of saying you're selfish, you're lazy, I noticed that you've been demonstrating selfish behavior, maybe, or I feel like you're selfish with me.
Yeah.
Can you work on this, or can you show me how to help you work on this selfish behavior? What do you think?
Or maybe not even using the selfish word, just maybe using like another word. Because, I would think that just using that word sometimes, just selfish, is just kind of triggering to people.
Right.
I know it would be for me. So probably just a different approach. It's just knowing your partner, just knowing how to approach them. I think it's all about the delivery.
Right. You're selfish, or you're so stupid, like, you're just so dumb. It's not helpful for anyone. It's not helpful if you have kids too, and kids seeing you call your partner selfish or stupid. You want to make it constructive criticism, like, hey, I feel like
this.
Yeah.
I've noticed this. Like, don't take it the wrong way, but like, can you help me out in this? Or, just different ways to approach it, I would think. And, I'm guilty of it. I try to hold myself back sometimes and try to just think of the delivery before just going out there and just opening my mouth, because I put my foot in my mouth a lot, and she knows that, and I'm constantly apologizing for the things I say. So
yeah, I think with us is, if we're going to be married and we're going to stay married, the goal is to stay married, unless you don't want to be married and you want to divorce your partner, which, some people decide they want to divorce. But if we want to stay together, if you want to stay with your partner, then you want to say things constructively. You don't want to tear them down, because it doesn't help the relationship. If you want to stay together, if you want a successful marriage, you have to change the way you communicate. You have to be positive. You have to help your partner. If you feel like your partner is not helping you, or they're not giving you what you need, then say it. Open your mouth and tell them, I feel like you're not helping me with this. I need you to do this. I need this from you. And if your partner wants to stay married as well, then they should hear what you have to say and help you, or do what you're asking,
And it's not about, I guess I've heard it a lot, it's not about going against one another. It's just figuring out what the issue is and attacking the issue, not one another.
Right. You attack the problem so that you guys can be together. And what works for one couple might not work for another couple. What works for me and my husband, maybe one person getting up in the morning doing this part. Some other couples might not like that. What works for us or what works for your wife or your husband might not work for another man's wife or another woman's husband. It depends on you and your spouse and what your relationship is and what you both need from each other. So you can't compare your relationship to your friends, or if your friend tells you, well, my husband does this for me, it might make you feel a certain kind of way because your friend's husband does this for her, but that works for them. What works for them might not work for you and your husband. So you can't compare your relationship to somebody else's because you're both two different people. Your relationship is different. What her husband does is what they do, but he might do things that she doesn't like that your husband doesn't do. So you can't compare and look at someone else's marriage either, because that just causes unnecessary jealousy and trouble. Just focus on your relationship and what you both need from each other.
Yeah, just figure out what works for you guys.
Right. So that was criticism. We can also show you guys an example. So my husband lost his wedding ring before our vacation.
I didn't lose it. That's the thing.
So he says our daughter lost it, but our daughter is 2. So anyway, I could have got mad and said, you're just so dumb, you lost it. But that would not, fix anything. You discuss it. We'll try to find it when we get back home. We'll find a solution to him losing the ring. It is upsetting to me, but there's a way to go about it than screaming and saying, you're stupid, you lost it, you're dumb,
In the comment section, who do you guys think I lost the ring? I'll take ownership, but I left it in the drawer, on top of the drawer, so I wouldn't forget it the day of the travel. Our daughter grabs it and tells me. I tell her to put it back. She's almost 3 years. She's almost 3 years old. She's 30 days, 20 something days away from 3 years old. She's very smart, so she knows what put it back means. So I'm busy doing something else, and I tell her to put it back, and it's not there when we go look for it. But I didn't lose it. I didn't go out there and put it somewhere and left it.
But they're toddlers too, so ultimately it comes back on us if they lose something. And I do feel like you're kind of reckless with it. You just leave it here, leave it there. So I feel like he doesn't like it. Personally, that hurts my feelings. But he said he does like it. But at the end of the day, if our toddler loses something, it comes back on us. And I just feel like to me, it's valuable. And I just feel like he doesn't like it.
Okay, so let's say this. So you give her something to drink in the living room and she spills it. So it's your fault then?
Well, yeah, because she's a toddler.
Oh, okay. So then last time that happened, I told you, you guys, and then you say, why you say you guys? It's her.
Because he always says, you guys did this. But if she does waste it, ultimately I'll get upset. Like, why'd you do that? But, if I gave her the cup or she's got the cup, she's 2.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
But if it was my wedding ring and she lost it and I had it, wouldn't you be upset with me? Like, babe, that's your wedding ring. You'd be upset with me if I lost the ring and I said she lost it. Or Aiden. You can't blame a toddler because ultimately they're kids. We're watching them. You hire a sitter to watch them. If the sitter says, oh, your kid lost your keys, are we going to be mad at the sitter or our daughter? The sitter was supposed to be watching.
Fair point.
Okay, guys. Anyway, so number 2, what's the next one? Contempt.
Oh, yeah.
So this one, let me read about it because I'm not sure. So contempt is the most serious of the four qualities that can destroy a marriage. So examples of contempt are mocking your partner, name calling, eye rolling, showing hostility, insensitive joking, hurtful sarcasm, and sneering and disgust. I don't like sarcasm personally, and I know that he used to make these hurtful jokes that I did not like because I grew up with that. A lot of sarcasm, and to me it's not funny, and I feel like it does show that you have contempt for someone when you make constant sarcastic jokes.
That to me is, I come from a family and growing up where you just
Well, I do
give people that's what you do. I grew up with 4 siblings and grew up having cousins and stuff like that, and that's the way you give each other a hard time. And sometimes it's just all and just fun. I do that at work. Me and the guys. We just sit there and give each other a hard time. It's nothing personal. It's just giving each other a hard time.
But I feel like men do that, and some people do that. But I feel like with your wife, I don't think it's funny. Some couples might do that, but in our marriage, I don't like sarcasm. And, some people are mad 30 plus years later about something you said at 5 years old. You just never, when it comes to sarcasm and jokes, it's just best if you don't know the person well enough. Or I feel like in a relationship, to me it's hurtful, but I mean, that's just one of the examples. There's also like sneering and disgust, being hostile towards your partner, just extremely demeaning. What?
No, I'm just thinking, just.
What's an example of, like if he does something like, oh, it's just.
Or you tell me something, and I just go,
Yeah, or like rolling your eyes or cutting someone off, like that's something that, or, rolling your eyes.
Like, here we go again.
Yeah, like,
I've done it. I'm guilty of that. I'm like, oh, here we go.
I think everyone does that, kind of like, or just kind of like, oh, look what you did again, but again, contempt is very hurtful to your partner because you're rolling your eyes or you're cutting them off or you're being sarcastic, which is, it's a way to get a dig in, and that is not beneficial to any relationship because it is hurtful, because it's showing that you have some kind of hostility towards your partner, and it comes out in different ways, like with a sarcastic comment or a constant rolling your eyes or yeah, whatever, or like we'll do an example. So let's say that the clothes are folded and like, oh, babe, you forgot to fold these towels. Like I asked you to fold the towel. Like, you have to cut me off to show them what. I asked you to fold these towels this way, and you didn't do it like this. I like it.
Here we go again.
But, yeah, I need you to listen to what I'm saying. Like,
okay.
So that is like, to me, that's like contempt. You're sneering and disgust. You're rolling your eyes. You're cutting them off. All right. Oh, here we go again. Yeah. That's not helpful, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's gotten better, and But anyway, that's number 2.
I try to make myself more aware of what I'm doing. Like, knowing these things, it does help out. I mean, because before I would just react and just do instead. Now I just kind of like try to keep my cool. And it's a 50-50 sometimes. Yeah. But it's something that I'm working on, and I'm making an effort. And I feel like our dynamic was he's like fire, like, "Rah!" And I'm just more like the water one. So I'm able to put out the flame with his anger sometimes, but. Don't let her fool you. She does have a feisty side to her side. Yeah. Especially getting upset and she won't talk to you. Yeah, that's a different one. But I think he's more reactive than I am, I guess. But so that's contempt. Let's go to the next one. Defensiveness is the next one. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I think everyone knows what defensiveness is. We'll give you guys an example. Hey, babe, you didn't wash the dishes. Well, you didn't wash them the other day either, so. Well, I know, but we talked about you doing them at night. No, well, what about the stuff that I asked you to do? Man, now you go for tit for tat again, and then you're so defensive all the time. So that's an example of, or like, if your spouse says something, you're like, well, you did that. Or you say, hey, baby, can you put the trash out? I did it last time. You always complain about this, and I didn't do that. Like, you're just very defensive about every little thing. And that also is another indicator of divorce if it continues. Because it makes your partner feel like, I don't know, I guess like they're always having to explain why they're asking you to do something because you're so defensive. But I think the defensiveness is a sign of, what's it called? Insecure attachment. Growing up, there's something that was there or something that caused them to be defensive that you feel like you have to defend yourself all the time. Or prior relationships too. Yeah, that too. Other relationships can cause you to feel like I need to always defend myself. So when your spouse says one thing, immediately you take it to mean something else and you get defensive and it causes a fight. A simple thing like, don't use my toothbrush, I don't like it. Well, why can't I use toothbrush? Are you saying that I'm dirty? Like stuff like that. So that's pretty much defensiveness. Yeah. It's something that we had in our relationship, and I think it's a lot better now. It's getting a lot better. We communicate better, and with him, I do like talk a lot, and it's something that used to bother him, but I feel like if you care about your relationship, you want to say what bothers you so that you can talk about it and move on from it. You don't want to keep repeating the same stuff because it will lead to the end of your relationship. If the same stuff keeps happening, I'm mad about it, I don't say anything, and then resentment builds up, and then I don't like him anymore at all. And once you don't like the person you're with, it becomes easier to leave because you're so aggravated with everything. And I didn't want that to happen to us. I've seen it happen before. So I like to talk a lot about what's bothering me so we can fix it and not do it again. So I don't stay mad or he doesn't stay mad. It goes on both sides. You want to talk about the issue without getting defensive so you can move on from it. Yeah, and I think also women use that more, the whole communication stuff, and guys are more, I don't know, we're just wired differently. I think guys are okay sometimes, not all the time. I mean, you can't hold everything back. You got to say what's on your mind too. But we kind of tend to just take in a little bit more, and they're okay with it. Like I'll be okay with, I mean, something that happens. I'll be able to move on from it and just let it go and just be good. But in her case, if something's wrong, she won't let it go. She just can't let it go. She has to bring it up, and it has to be addressed. And until it does, she's not okay. And for me, it's a little bit different. I'm okay. Like if it's not a big deal, I feel like for me, I could just whatever. Yeah.
But I feel like that's a woman and man thing too, because my friend said the same thing. Like the woman will bring it up to the man again, like, hey, this really bothered me, and last week you did this thing, and the men, do the men really let it go? Do men let it go, or do they just let it go, but it still bothers them inside, and it comes out in different ways later because they never address it?
Well, that's the thing.
Or do you really let it go?
If it's something that's to our core, yes. I mean,
but you don't talk about it though.
We don't want to talk about it, or we will talk about it, but it won't be like. Sometimes it doesn't come out in the best way, or come out at some point.
Right. That's the thing.
But there's. Like for me, not every scenario that we have where there's a disagreement or something that's said, doesn't have to be, for me, I don't have to bring it up. Like, if it's something like that she says, like, that could be offensive to me, like talk about family or stuff physically, appearance about me, then that's something that I would definitely have a problem with. But if it's something that she got mad at me about because I did something, I'll let go. I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah, I feel like I need to get to the root of it. Why did it happen? Let's talk about it so it doesn't happen again. That's a woman who, I think a woman who cares wants to talk about it so she's not mad. A woman who doesn't care, she's over the relationship, will say, well, forget him, he does that all the time. I'm kind of over it. And they'll kind of quit talking to the person, don't address any issues, and they'll leave eventually. Or you'll find another guy who listens to you and makes you feel heard, and you'll feel like you're done with the guy you're with, and eventually it's going to end. So a woman who cares, or someone who cares about the relationship, men too, because some men do want to talk about things. That shows that you care about it. But I think once you shut down and you stop talking about what bothers you, because I've seen that happen too, where you're over it and you're ready to go. You're just waiting to leave. You're waiting for the right time to go. So I think it's best to talk, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's awkward, even if it aggravates the other person. The reason why you're bringing it up is because you still care, which I think is a good thing. But there's also a time to talk about it. If one partner doesn't want to talk about it right now because they're upset or they need to cool off, you don't want to chase them around the house saying, we got to talk about it right now. Like, give them a minute.
That happens a lot.
Right?
Especially, it comes up, like for us, it comes up like during quiet time to go to bed. Like,
hey, but you watch TV all night. So then,
but you mean,
when he gets into bed, I'm like, I finally got him in bed without TV because, he's watching TV all the time.
Yeah, but you could just tell me, pause this and let's talk about this. But she waits till I'm like ready, like to go to bed, and like I'm ready to just close my eyes and go to bed. And that's the last thing I want to sit there and just dig into my feelings. No.
If someone's watching TV all evening and they pause it real quick, what? Oh, the game's on, babe, the game's on. So when he gets into bed, it's my time. You know what I mean. Like, ladies know. And some men know. Okay.
And then, okay.
Okay, guys. The last one is
stonewalling.
Stonewalling, which, okay. When we were dating, we went to premarital counseling. And I was like, yes, the counselor's going to see how terrible he is because he does this, and that. And then stonewalling came up because we did this, we did premarital counseling, and we talked about these 4 characteristics in a relationship that would lead to divorce. And I saw stonewalling, and I was like, oh shoot, well that's the one thing that I would do a whole lot in the beginning, because that's what I was raised seeing too. You get mad, you don't speak, and that happened a lot. So you just don't talk, and you just go on, and nothing gets resolved, and we just don't speak. And you need to know that I'm mad at you, and I'm gonna let you know that I'm not speaking to you, for however long. There's no end in sight, and it's very emotionally damaging to the partner you're with. So, yeah, we went to counseling, and I was like, yes, he can see everything he does wrong, and I realized that. What do you?
I think I probably do it more now than before.
Yeah, well, we were long distance, so he was worried that we were going to lose our connection. But even being married, I think we had struggled with stonewalling. Well, maybe on my end more so.
I feel like she's still, to this day, if there's an issue, we're not talking, I'm the one that has to come back at some point. And
But I do make an effort to come to you and say, we need to talk about this, or this upset me. And...
yeah.
But after an argument, I do need time to cool off more than him. I feel like men and him, he's like, after 5 minutes, hey, babe. And he'll come try to cuddle, and I'm like, no, we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about
That's
it.
not going to solve the problem.
Yeah. But stonewalling is really, it's when you ignore your partner. There's no end in sight. You don't give him a heads up on when you're going to be done not speaking to them. You just stop speaking. You walk around the house not speaking, sometimes for days. Parents do this to their kids. Partners do it to each other. It's where you just don't speak to them. And it's very emotionally damaging because it harms the other person, because they feel like, you kind of feel like, are we good, or what's wrong? Are you gonna tell me what's wrong? When you're gonna speak to me again? And it can be very harmful to the other person because it makes you feel insecure. And
Yeah.
I learned that that's not a healthy way to deal with things. And like I said before, you need to communicate.
What they told us to do, if we're don't want to talk to the other person, we kind of just give them a time.
Let them know when. Don't just say, I'm not speaking to you. And, well, when are you going to talk to me again? I don't know.
Yeah, it's best to at least tell them, I mean, we'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about it in 2 hours. I need time. And at least the other person has a heads up on, okay.
How long?
What's the time, you know what I mean? Like when so I try to do that. Like I was like, hey, I can't do this tonight. Like, let's talk about it tomorrow. I try to at least go there when, I mean, we need to have these conversations and I'm just not up for it, or I'm frustrated, like, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole where I start saying stuff and then start hurting her feelings, and now it becomes even a bigger issue than the original. So I try to at least tell, like, you know what, I can't do it tonight. Let's talk about it tomorrow. So at least she knows, like, okay, we're going to come back to it, at least at some point.
Right. And you want to give your spouse a timeline so they know, okay, we're good. He still loves me. We're going to talk at this, or she still loves me. We're going to talk at this time. They just need time to cool off so you don't feel insecure. Because when we were dating and we were long distance, I would just not speak to him for days, and he would know, are we still together? Are we good? You're going to call me again? I would just, like,
oh, yeah, and
hang up on him. And that was it, and I'm not telling you when I'm talking to you again.
She would not pick up, and that was it, and that was the most frustrating and hurtful feeling, because it feels like, you mean...
It does make the insecurity, because
yeah.
we didn't know if we were together still, and we were long distance, so I would just hang up the phone.
She doesn't care.
I would block him.
Yeah, she doesn't care about me, like, you know what I mean? And it would put me on edge, because now, like, I'm stressed out, like, oh, we're long distance, is she going to talk to me again? Is she going to tell me? Yeah, so... Yeah, that's definitely, like, something that, I mean, it would have definitely helped us out and tell me, like, I won't talk to you till tomorrow.
Right. So the counselor told us, if you need time, you know, you don't have to talk to them right away, but give them a time limit. Give me till tomorrow. Give me 30 minutes. And then the other person has to respect that timeline as well. You can't say, well, tomorrow's too long, or 30 minutes, you know. Respect their time limit. But when the time does come, it is time to talk, you know, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. That's the things that we've worked on in our relationship. Like we said, if you do these things in your relationship, it doesn't mean it's the end, but it just means that some things need to change. And we're still working on them ourselves.
We're definitely working on them. We're far from the perfect couple.
Right. And kids make it harder.
Yeah. The dynamic of kids, a house,
bills,
work, bills.
Yeah, sex, intimacy, all that stuff.
All that stuff, like, we talked about that stuff before getting married, and we're like, oh, we got this. Yeah, we talked about it.
But you never know. Okay, we were long distance. So when you're living together, you're married, you're sharing bills, that's when the things start to come into play. And
yeah, and it's not easy. Like, even if you talk about these things before getting married, once, I mean, the rubber hits the road, it's a different animal.
Yeah. And
it makes it a lot harder. And especially, like we said, with kids, now you're adding these little humans that need your attention, different personalities, and then they bring out the best in you. They sometimes bring out the worst in you because your patience is not there. So your spouse,
you're barking at each other.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're going back at each other, and it makes it difficult. But these are things that we are continuing to work on, and we're gonna probably continue to work on You know what I mean? Forever. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just
that's what a
constant thing to do is just work on them.
That's what a relationship is. You know, it's work. It takes effort, but we're in it. We're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing my ring because we're in Louisiana right now. But I do have my ring. I'm not getting back at him by not wearing it because he lost his. but
I didn't lose it. It's in the house somewhere.
I hope it is, but
It is.
it's in the house somewhere. Hopefully we can find it. But I do have my ring. I just don't have it right now because it's in the suitcase. But as long as you're committed, we're committed to each other. We're in it for the long haul. You want to make it work. You want to communicate. You want to talk. You want to spend time. You want to be intimate with each other. Make time for each other. Make date nights. Avoid those 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Isn't it called the 4 henchmen?
I think so, yeah.
It's the 4 things that we just talked about are called the 4 henchmen, and they destroy relationships. So just stay committed to each other. Remember why you got married. Remember why you're in a relationship. Remember why you're together. And
yeah.
I mean, it's easier said than done. But.
True. But if you guys have any other tips that could help us, I mean, we're more than open to hearing different ideas. I mean, because we're definitely, I mean, always trying to learn.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that too.
Yeah. Thank you. If you're watching this, if you watched this far, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
We appreciate you. And we have 2,000 subscribers now. All right, guys.
Bye.